Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to make my go-to soil mix. I get asked what my soil mix is all the time. It's what I use for all of my houseplants. We are filming a little bit differently today. We are at my kitchen because it's by the garage where my soil mixes are. It is getting ready to downpour here. Like, it has been doing some intense evening storms here in Savannah, and they are so scary. So it is a little dark, so I have my ring light, so hopefully you can see everything. And just ignore my mess. I just got out of the shower. You know those days where you wake up, you go to bed the night before and you wake up and you just have a headache, you don't really feel that good, and it's just one of those days where you had wanted to plan and do so much and then none of it happens. That was kind of it for me today. I wanted to get up early and film and make content and film this way earlier in the day, but you know, I just my head was hurting and I'm oh, I just don't feel like it. So for my go-to potting mix, I'm gonna take you through each thing that I use to make my mix and how I make it, the ratios, and I'll talk more about it. And it's my go-to mix. I always keep a container of it. I make a small batch at a time and I always remake it. I just prefer a fresh mix more often. I don't make a huge batch. That's just not me. It's not what I prefer. I make I don't know, it's a perfect little small container, and it just makes a good mix up at a time. So it's what I like to do, and then I'll just make it as I need it. I did ask that question on my Instagram because I told them I was filming this video, and so any questions that they had regarding my soil mix, to let me know and I'll try to answer them in this video. So I have a list out here, and I'm going to kind of go through here and see if there's anything I can answer. I got a question on how I store my soil, and I will take you to my garage here too and show you where I store everything. And I keep everything in a big tote bin, and I usually just roll it up and clip it, keep everything in there, and then I will usually make a batch up in the garage out there. So I'm bringing everything right here to make it for this video, and then I'll just put it all back out in the garage. And then once I actually make the container that I use, I keep that container in my plant room. That way I can just go and grab it when I need something, when I'm doing a repotting, and then everything else is in the garage stored. I'll link all of my soil mixes below for you down in the description box. And everything I usually get off Amazon except for Perlite. I usually buy the Miracle-Gro Perlite. It's easy and convenient to get at my big box stores, and I'm there every week. So if I'm out, I'll just get one real quick. It's just as good, but sometimes if I'm out, if I'm doing an Amazon order, I'll just order on my Amazon order. But 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to the big box store to get the Miracle-Gro Perlite. And someone asked about specific bark, and I did find, I'll show you the bark that I'm going to use. I did find one recently, probably within the last few months, off Amazon that I really like. And it only comes in you know, it's not a huge bag, and I just really like the consistency of it, so I'll show you that here too. But I've been loving that one lately. Really, for soil, a lot of them some of them just want to know for specific plants. And I will say, so about my mix is really chunky, and I will go through and break down my ratios as well. And I use it for 99, probably 0.9% of my plants. I am testing out some new mixes just recently within the past week or two. If you do recreate this mix, that you might need to change up your watering needs, because with this mix, I find if I water, it drains straight through, and the soil doesn't sit wet for long, which is what I prefer. I just like my soil to breathe. And for certain plants, I will say for Calathea or Maranta or any kind of water-loving plant, I will try to make it less chunky, but sometimes I'll just repot a plant in the mix that I have pre-made, and I don't make it less chunky, which I find I just have to water the plant more often. So it is finding that balance, but I really do try to add more soil into the certain mix that I'm doing for a particular plant. When I'm repotting, I'll just grab a couple scoops of soil out of the bag and throw it in the mix. I'll just pour it out on a little tray, and that way it's a little less chunky, and my plants, you know, will appreciate that. But all kinds of plants honestly will. Do you see this cat trying to get out there? It is storming, so I don't want her out there. Luna. This mix is really good for Monstera, for Phylos, and certain plants I will actually, Oh my goodness. And then sometimes I will actually make it a little bit more chunky sometimes for like bigger potted plants like Monstera. Like when I have to repot my big Monstera, I will probably add a lot more perlite just to make it a little bit more chunky. And I would also say my anthuriums, definitely I make it more chunky, definitely more perlite and bark for sure. So yeah, now that we've kind of talked about my mix and the plants, let's kind of go into the tutorial on how I make it. I'm gonna take you out to the garage. Instead of dragging a bunch of soil mixes in here, I had a question that asked how I store my mixes. So I brought in the soil bag here, and I'm going to show you where I actually store all my soil mixes, and instead of dragging it all the way in here. So I keep everything here in the garage. These two bins to the right are some plant supplies. So this first one here is what I use to store my soil mixes. And I just kind of lift this up and come out here when I need something and just take it in. So I'm going to grab some perlite, orchid bark, and I hope I have some charcoal in here because that's all that I use to make my mix. I keep everything usually kind of closed with, oops, with those little bag clips there, or I'll just like fold them down and lay them in here. This is kind of, I don't know, it just kind of keeps everything locked in place. I don't have that many soil mixes in here, and I do have some stuff in my room, my plant room, but not a lot. I like these big bins. I feel like it can hold a lot. I think I got these from Walmart, I believe. Yes, I did. I got these from Walmart. And of course the green top because I like green. So yeah, that is how I store everything. I just throw it all in here and I make up a batch at a time and throw everything back in here. And yeah, that's how I store it here in the garage. For the container that I use, this is my soil container. It is empty. I need to make more. And this I got from Target. This is actually 16 and 5/8 inches in length and 11 1/4 inch in width and 7 1/8 inch in height, if you want the exact dimensions. But any kind of clear plastic tote bin will work. And I just love this one. It unlatches. It's plastic. It unlatches on both sides here, and the lid comes off. It's like not super airtight. Like I feel like the lid stays on well, but it's not like, I feel like there's still a little bit of a breathable room, if that makes any sense. There's whiskers. And this is my soil scoop. I get this off of a succulent kit from Amazon, and I can link that down below for you too. This is my scooper that I love and use. I've had this thing for so long. So what I like to do first is I start with my soil base, which is my potting soil, and I will fill this bin halfway. So I kind of eyeball my bin, so about right here is about halfway, and that's about 50% if you fill this halfway. So that is like my estimate. And none of my ratios are 100% perfect. Like 50% is, yeah, a good estimate on the soil base. So the brand of potting soil that I use is by Fox Farm. This is what the bag looks like. I love this mix. It's called Ocean Forest. And I get this huge bag off Amazon. And I love it. It is a really, really good mix. So this does have peat moss. It's more of a peat-based soil mix. And it does contain perlite, sandy loam, and fertilizer. They have like fish emulsion, crab meal, shrimp meal, earthworm castings. It's very like a rich, airy mixture. It's what I love about this mix. And let me do a scoop so I can show you. So this is what the soil looks like by itself. And this is a great mix by itself, and there is nothing wrong with just potting your plants into this mix if that's all you want to try. And it is very chunky and airy by itself, but I just prefer my mix to be a little bit more chunky, so that's the only reason why I mix my mix up like this. But it is a great mix by itself. Oh, this is very heavy. Yeah, so that worked out good on the first go. So it's 50% about roughly potting mix in there. And sometimes when I add the rest of my stuff, if If I feel like it needs more potting mix, I'll add more at the end, like after I'm done mixing it. But this is good to start with. And then so for perlite, I used Miracle-Gro, the perlite, and this one's already open already, and I have a new bag, so I'm gonna probably end up using the rest of this. And then the perlite I pour on, so I divide this in thirds. So I do 20% perlite, 20% bark, and then 10% charcoal. So roughly like 20%, I'll fill it up to the top with like a third of it being perlite. A little bit more than a third. All right, so I have the 20% roughly of the perlite, and it's on like 1/3. So this is the Orchid Bark. I have been using Hamza Trading. Hamza Trading is the brand, and it's just Orchid Bark. It says organic mix. This is 8 quarts. I get this off Amazon. I can't remember how much. I'll put like the price on the screen of these roughly 2 so that you have an idea. I really like this bark. I find some pieces to be really thin and other pieces to be a little bit thick. I would say this is more of like a small to medium size orchid bark, and it's what I really like. So I've been using this a lot lately, and I really, really like it. That's what we were working with. And for charcoal, I bought this bag off Amazon. It's by Espoma is the brand. And so I'll use 10% of this. And I do that right next to the orchid bark. The reason I add charcoal to my mixes is because, one, it helps for aeration. It's something in the soil that's going to provide little air pockets and help with, you know, oxygen getting down into the roots so that that soil isn't sitting just so like dense when you water. So that's one thing I love charcoal for. And another thing I love it for is that it removes impurities out of the soil, and overall it's just like good for plant health. So I just love using charcoal. So I always add it to all my mixes. I've been using it for a really long time. So that's what it looks like. Let me pan you down so you can see it up close. So here we go. It is gorgeous. And these are rough estimates, and I have plenty of room still at the top. Sometimes I don't always fill it all the way to the top, but you can see here I have 50% of the base of soil, and then roughly 20% of perlite, bark, and then 10% charcoal. So it looks amazing. All we have to do now is just to mix it, and this is my favorite part because I love mixing the soil. I will fast forward this. This looks so good, you guys. Oh my goodness. Look at that mix. So that is the consistency that I go for. But yeah, it's just, this is my go-to mix. This is what I make. And here's another peek at it all mixed up. So yes, 99% of my plants are in this mix. And I only make this batch up at a time. And this, I will put the lid on, and I will store this with a scooper in my plant room. That way, if I need a mix, it's like ready to go. And this is what I store in my room. Oh, I clearly didn't mix that enough. There we go. And I just take it out and use it as I need it. And yeah, it stores really well in these little containers. Yeah, it might be a little bit of a hassle making a small batch at a time, but you're more than welcome to buy a bigger container and mix more up if that's what you prefer, just to have more on hand and readily available. But I just find that I just like to keep a small batch. That way I feel like my soil is always fresh, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's how I feel, I guess, what I like. But yeah, it's my go-to mix, and I honestly love it so much. I do have to water more frequently, so keep that in mind. I think I covered everything with my soil recipe, and if I am forgetting anything, let me know if there's something else that you want to know about my recipe. And yeah, I hope if you do try it, let me know. I would love to hear how it works for you and if you like it. And again, definitely cater this to your needs. If you're someone who doesn't like to water a lot, I would be a little bit cautious using this. My plants do dry in my environment pretty fast. If there's anything else you want to know about my soil mix, just let me know if you have any questions down below. Thank you again so much for watching, and thank you all so much for 5K. It means so much to me. I love filming and recording and making videos, and it just brings me a lot of joy. So thank you for being here, and I really appreciate you guys so much. So I will talk to you all again very soon.